Welcome to this week's episode of the Lido Loop. I'm your host, Jack McCraw. With me, as always, my good friend, Jesse Barboza. How we doing today?
I'm doing good. How you dealing with Spirit being shut down?
Man, I've been looking all over the internet for good flights, and hopefully the deals start coming back. But, rest in peace, Spirit. It's now been 2 weeks since our favorite airline has been gone. So rest in peace. But in more positive news, Jesse, tell us what's the latest and greatest in the cruise side of things.
Yeah, so Carnival guests, they must sign up for this new rewards program. We'll have a little bit more details on that later in the show. And a Disney cruise gets canceled after guests have already boarded the ship. And Royal Caribbean releases news about the next class of ships that will be out. And how on May 12th, you will not be able to get alcohol in the Bahamas.
Yeah, let's all avoid the Bahamas on May 12th. Unless you don't drink, then, by all means, go for it. And on the theme park side of things, Universal has officially announced a closure date for the Lost Continent section, meaning the most popular restaurant at Islands of Adventures will be closing soon, along with a very popular and underrated attraction. SeaWorld is also announcing a brand new nighttime show that has us debating whether it's worth it to stay at SeaWorld from open to close with this new show. And finally, Magic Kingdom just reopened Big Thunder Mountain and now is running at 100% capacity, and they're expanding. So a lot of good stuff is happening over at Magic Kingdom. And to wrap up the show, Jesse and I break down the best tips and tricks for going to the casino, whether on land or at sea, with some expert advice from one of our most famous listeners. That and much more on this week's episode of The Lido Loop. So kicking off the show like we always do, we like to talk about the latest and greatest in the cruise world. And of course, our favorite cruise line, Carnival, is at front and center with their new rewards program where guests must sign up for a new rewards program. Jess, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so for those who don't know, Carnival is switching over from a loyalty program to a rewards program. So instead of days at sea is becoming the amount of money you spend, kind of like what airlines do,
or casinos do.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that. So, but in order to opt in, so you can move your days or your status. So if you're gold or platinum or diamond, you have to opt into that so that it transfers over to the new program. You have to do that by September 1st. There's a couple of ways you can do it. If you actually have the Carnival MasterCard, which I actually do, you're automatically enrolled into it. Or you should get an email. Or you can go to carnival.com, and then the first thing, after you sign in, the first thing it'll pop up. That happened with you, right?
Yeah, because I had to opt in right before the show because, we discussed this off air. There's a little option in the rewards loyalty program where it says opt in, and it's very simple. You just type in your VIFP number. If you don't know that, chances are you've gotten an email from Carnival and it'll be on the email. That's how I found mine. And you just need your date of birth and email address, and then they'll have to verify it. Once they verify it, then you're just opt into it.
Yeah, I did hear some stories of some people who they don't agree with it because the option is I agree. That's what it says. And so a lot of people are saying they're trying to create this movement of people not wanting to agree, and maybe they'll go back to the old program. I don't know. What do you think?
That sounds like if you don't read the terms and conditions, it's like, oh, you have to hit agree in order to proceed. It felt like the old reward system was a little bit better, especially this definitely seems like more of a pay-to-play model, which that's the standard, like you said earlier, for airlines, casinos, and just most loyalty programs in general. Heck, even fast food is like the more money you spend, the more rewards you get. So it's almost as if Carnival is kind of catching up with the trend of the times. But yeah, it was more simpler when it was the more cruises you go on, the more rewards you get.
Yeah, and I think other cruise lines are going to actually benefit from this at first because I know a lot of people are trying to switch it over to other cruise lines now because they can't afford to maintain their status, so that they just like me. I was a strict Carnival only, but then once they changed that program, I was like, well, why am I going to be loyal to one when they're not loyal to me?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I heard the next ship you might not be able to go on though is Disney. Not only because Disney's expensive, but now they're kicking guests off as they are already boarded. Can you tell us a little bit what happened with that story, Jesse?
Yeah, so the Disney Adventure, which is sells out of Singapore, guests started boarding the ship like normal, and then apparently they had a technical issue able to leave the port. So they actually had a note that they sent out to all of the guests, and they actually went in on the intercom and said the same thing. The note says, "We are truly sorry to let you know that we are unable to proceed with your Disney Adventure experience from May 7th through 11th of 2026 as planned. We fully understand how upsetting and disappointing this news is and realize this is not the experience you were looking for." So, I don't know. What do you think, Jack? What do you think of that?
I mean, I would be really upset if I wasn't able to, proceed with the cruise ship. And you would have to think that they do all these testings way before they start letting guests on and off the ships. Now, sometimes I get it. You have guests come on, then you have to, test it and then get the next guest on. But, I mean, imagine if you took a trip all the way to Singapore to go on a Disney Cruise Line, or just even someone that lives in Asia had to travel over there, people live in Singapore. They're kind of stuck now. And I know that Disney, we kind of got into it off air, but correct me if I'm wrong, they're offering some sort of compensation for this, cancellation, correct?
Yeah, so they were given 100% refund, which everyone should expect that, at least bare minimum. But they also give them a 50% future cruise credit, which is good. So that means if you spent $10,000 on a Disney cruise, which you probably
that sounds right.
You spend $10,000, they're gonna give you $5,000 towards another cruise, which is that's great. They also were going to pay for a hotel, and they also are going to pay for flight changes and stuff like that. So it's I feel like it's good compensation, but it would suck flying there and not be able to go on the cruise that you wanted to.
Yeah, especially if you're like an international, person going all the way to Singapore in order to go on this cruise ship. It seems like crazy that shouldn't happen in today's world where there's so much technology and information as to what is going on with the ship. I mean, it must have had some major mechanical malfunction.
The crazy thing is, this is Disney's newest ship. So I mean, of course, I guess anything could happen, even new ships. But you got to realize that a lot of these cruise ships, they go for a couple years before they even get a dry dock. They just go back to back to back to back to back sailings. There's like no time in between. The only time to do maintenance is while guests are on board. So if there's something major, the only thing they can do is cancel sailings.
Yeah, and like we said, luckily these guests were, fairly compensated, but that's still so disappointing. Hey, instead of giving their money to Disney for the cruise ship, they should just go to Universal Studios in Singapore instead and fund Universal instead. And so another new cruise ship news is that Royal Caribbean has released more news about their next class of ships. Jesse, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so I know last episode we talked about Royal Caribbean ordering 2 more Icon class ships, which is number 6 and number 7, which is Royal Caribbean will have 7 of the largest cruise ships in the world, which is, I still think that's crazy. But instead of getting bigger, this time they're actually getting smaller. Which the new class is going to be called the Discovery class. It's their first brand new class concept since the massively successful Icon class, of course. It's supposed to come out in 2029. The second ship is already planned for 2032. But they also have option for 4 more ships afterwards. These ships are going to be smaller than Icon and the Oasis class. They're going to be built for more unique destinations, so they're probably going to be more for like longer trips and like journey cruises, stuff like that. But I definitely think that this is going to help them for an aging fleet. I know the average life of a cruise ship is 30 years, and Royal Caribbean definitely has a couple of ships that are getting close to that mark. So maybe the Discovery class is going to make other ships retire.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing because, you see these ships getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I understand the concept of building these massive ships so they can bring more and more people on and maximize their profits. So it is kind of refreshing that they can go have a second kind of fleet to go to, longer destinations or be more accessible to ports. Because, you and I have had conversations previously about even certain ports in America, like New Orleans and Tampa, where some of these massive ships can't go to. Do you think that's a good benefit to have some of these more accessible ships, Jesse, that they can go to not only these more destinations, but be more accessible to some of these cruise ports as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because all the competition out there, like Carnival, Norwegian, and MSC, they're all just creating these big ships. So it seems like no one's gotten on board with replacing their aging fleet. So they may be the only ones in 30 years from now that can still go to these ports because they got the newest ships that can still fit in these.
I mean, it definitely seems like they could have the market share for, that mid-size ship, I guess is a good way to call it. And, certainly other cruise lines that could build towards that, like Margaritaville is one we've talked about previously where, they tend to have smaller ships so they could get there as well.
Yeah, but they still haven't yet to build a ship. They've always bought a ship from like another cruise line. Like I think one of the ships is from Costa. So their ship is already old, and then they just redo the interior and
they rebrand it to the Margaritaville. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so I think they're still probably 10 years away from actually building their own ship, to be honest, and hopefully that they get a little bit better before they do that, though.
But yeah, going back to the point of having the more smaller ships, I feel like Royal Caribbean set the standard for the Icon class, with it being the biggest ship, and now they want to go smaller. Do you think that could be a trend that other cruise lines follow as well? Like, hey, just because we're building bigger and bigger to compete with Royal, now we can build smaller to compete with them as well.
Yeah, it definitely is an option, but I don't see that happening right now, honestly. With like Carnival, of course, they got the Tropical and the Festival, which is coming out next year. And then they got that Project Ace, which we talked about last show, which will be even bigger than all the ships in the XL class. So every single time Carnival releases new news, it seems like it's just bigger. We're gonna get bigger and bigger. But eventually, they got to get smaller.
Hey, as long as they can still go to the Bahamas, but apparently on May 12th, not many people are going to be going to the Bahamas because I hear you can't buy alcohol that day. Jesse, do you want to explain to us as to why that is?
Yes, so in the Bahamas, which is on May 12th, there's going to be it's election day for them. And apparently there's a law that says they're not allowed to sell alcohol between 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I mean, some of the areas affected, which are big cruise ports, are Nassau, Freeport, and even the private islands like Perfect Day at Coco Cay, Royal Beach, Paradise Island, Castaway Cay, or Key, however you want to call it. Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point. There's a lot of people that are frustrated because if you're going to a private island, what's one thing you want to do on the island?
Drink on the island, of course.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to a swim-up bar, but you can't get served
you're going to get Dr. Pepper, hopefully, instead?
Yeah, so actually a lot of these cruise lines have actually tried to make a point where they like flip ports around. So instead of going to the Bahamas, they may go somewhere else first so that the next day, so it'd be like May 12th or May 11th or May 13th, they're actually going to the Bahamas instead.
Not cruise related, but it kind of is funny that they don't sell alcohol on election day because I guess they don't want to impair people's judgment as far as who they're voting for. I'm assuming that's the reason as to why they're not selling alcohol that day, or maybe it's just a national holiday for them. I'm not sure, but
yeah, that's the reason. They don't want to impair people. But the good news is you can still buy and drink alcohol while you're on the ship. You just can't buy it ashore. So let's just. A lot of people didn't realize this because they actually had like a pre-election. I guess it's kind of like the
preliminaries.
Yeah, kind of like preliminaries, I guess, on May the 5th, and I guess the cruise lines were unaware of it too because they sold drink packages for like on the island, and when they went to go use them, they said, "Oh yeah, everything shut down." So Royal Caribbean had to like give them a refund for all the drinks that they
were supposed to buy, but didn't. I would just, say, you know what? Why don't you just add that to the back end of my ship? That double my drink limit on the boat. How about that? I think that's a pretty fair, even trade.
Yeah. Well, actually, Royal Caribbean doesn't even have a drink limit, unlike Carnival.
So what you're saying is you need to go to Royal Caribbean now instead. Take notes, Carnival. I've never personally been maxed out of my drink limit. I know people that have, but I mean, it's crazy work to, get 15 drinks in, and I've seen people get, carted out by noon. That's when you know that maybe you need to have more than one drinking plan. Switching over to the theme park side of things, Universal has announced that 2027 will officially be the year that the Lost Continent is closing down permanently, and they're going to demolish all of their existing attractions. Now, the Voyage of Sinbad has been closed since 2018, and Poseidon's Fury, the only two attractions in the land, have both been closed for some time, and Poseidon's Fury closed in 2023. So it's kind of been a dormant, land to begin with, but now they're officially bulldozing the entire area, including Mythos, which is arguably one of, if not the best theme park restaurants in all of North America, and of course, your favorite, the Magic Talking Fountain. Jesse, do you have some fond memories with that attraction?
Yeah, of course. I know we went back in October last year, and I didn't realize it was there because this was the first time I went to Universal, and I just remember a lot of people walking by and no one really noticed that it was really there. I think we went and got some food right next door, and we just saw someone talking, and then I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then we went over there, and I know you said something. What'd you say to them?
I was actually asking him to debate the Michael Jordan versus LeBron James GOAT argument, and he made a pretty good point for Michael Jordan. So the all-knowing fountain says Michael Jordan's better than LeBron. I mean, you can't argue with that.
Yeah, and how old did he say he was?
It's something about like 10,000 plus years. He was, definitely sometime in the BC era. So it's definitely one of those attractions that you walk past, but I actually saw it on TikTok where people were interacting with it, and sometimes it'll splash people. So, of course, there's someone who's like standing, some control room looking over, and they have a microphone where they can say everything. It's definitely one of those really fun, underrated attractions that, it's sad to see go, but I mean, there is talks about them potentially saving this attraction and maybe moving it to another. They could retheme it to Harry Potter, Jurassic Park, King Kong, Toon Lagoon, Marvel, or Dr. Seuss, or whatever this new area they're going to build, whether it be, we've talked about Pokemon, One Piece, Wicked. It could be rethemed to fit the area, but the most common thing I'm hearing is that they could move it to the front of the park. That way they have, it's more on display instead of in some side area. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think a lot more people will see it and take more pictures and video right next to it while it's talking.
Yeah, it's getting a lot of trend on social media, so I think that they're going to keep it. But, that whole area, I mean, it's going to be a brand new land that's going to be built. I mean, we're probably looking at 2029 at the earliest when this land opens, probably closer into 2030. I mean, it is good to see, though, Universal is continuously investing in these, attractions and, trying to keep the park relevant. I mean, we've been to that like Toon Lagoon area, that's probably going to be next, where they have rides to Popeye and Dudley Do-Right. I mean, when's the last time anyone's talked about Dudley Do-Right besides in the theme park side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So when is this supposed to happen?
So it'll close officially in 2027. A official date has not been announced, but it's to be expected that it will be January.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. It's kind of their off season, so
yeah, because I mean, you do want to have a little bit of capacity during the Christmas time, and Universal definitely gets more of a. I don't want to say less operations, but like the water rides close, and this is the time they do maintenance, and like Jurassic Park, is already down right now, but that usually closes sometime in the winter as well.
So what's going on with SeaWorld and this new drone show?
So for this summer, SeaWorld is going to feature some high-energy nighttime spectaculars highlighted by a brand new drone show that's going to feature, the drones forming to different aquatic animals. I've seen sharks, dolphins, and of course killer whales, with that being their main mascot. The event's also going to include DJs, dance parties, illuminated atmosphere entertainment, and, what they say, updated nighttime animal presentation. So are the whales going to perform at night? Probably not, but they probably might have a little bit more animal encounters as they do. And this kind of wanted me to, bring up a point of, you and I have done a park open to close, but with SeaWorld adding this, would that incentivize you to want to stay to SeaWorld later, or are nighttime shows not something that you particularly like?
Now, like, it depends, I guess, time of year. Because I guess if I'm out in the middle of summer, I'm definitely don't think I'm gonna do, rope drop to watching this drone show. To me, that's a long time. Honestly, that would be probably like 10 hours at least.
At least, yes.
So, I mean, me personally, I've never seen a drone show. I have seen some videos. I'm sure you have too. It seems like they're always like in China or something like that. They got the best drone shows.
I saw one in Vegas when the Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup. This is a few years ago, but it wasn't even like there's a big presentation. They just had them floating in the air. So, I mean, yes, I've seen them and they're kind of cool. But I kind of like your point of it depends on when you go. Because, you and I, we've done rope drop to close at Fiesta Texas back when they did have nighttime shows and fireworks. And I personally have done Magic Kingdom open to close in Hollywood Studios. So for Disney, I think it's a worthwhile experience just because of the price you pay, that you kind of want to get your money's worth. And if you do for a park from open to close, you definitely get that money's worth as far as all the rides and then the shows aspect as well. With SeaWorld, I would be more... I don't think you need to be at the park open to close, to be honest, because most of the time, unless you're going on a weekend or holiday, you could probably knock out most of the rides within a 2-hour time frame. So, I mean, it is cool that they are offering this, but at the same time, I don't think I would stay at SeaWorld from open to close for this specific reason. And the only park I really would stay rope drop to park close is Disney.
Well, speaking of Disney, I heard that Big Thunder Mountain has reopened.
Yes, as of May 3rd, Big Thunder Mountain officially reopened and was retracked and has new thematic elements. And more importantly, Magic Kingdom is now operating at 100% capacity, meaning every single ride is not scheduled to be down for maintenance. So would that make you want to change your mind if the kids say, hey, we can go to Magic Kingdom and Tron's open, Big Thunder Mountain, Space Mountain, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Haunted Mansion. You should be able to ride all those rides. That would at least put me as to want to go more now that everything's open, correct?
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to Disney, you want the full experience, what you pay for. You don't want a ride to be shut down and you're having to be like many times we've been to a theme park, we're like, oh wow, the Iron Rattler's down, and like that's my favorite ride at Fiesta Texas. So that would suck if a ride that you really wanted would be shut down.
Yeah, when we went to Busch Gardens, this was back in January, so park had closure maintenance dates. I understand an off period. SheiKra was actually down.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
And that was one of my favorite rides because it was still unique at the time that dive coasters weren't at every park, but now Dr. Diabolical is at Fiesta Texas, and you like that roller coaster.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. It's probably the top 2 or 3 there.
And of course, when Tormenta finally opens at Six Flags Over Texas, we're definitely going to review that because that's going to be the world's tallest dive coaster. But besides theme parks, Jess and I have been, dying to go back to the casino as well. And so we actually asked one of our, good friends and longtime listeners, Maddie, to come on the show because, she is the casino expert to talk about tips and tricks for, not only maximizing your fun at the casino, but also the best rewards programs. She unfortunately couldn't be here because she was already at the casino and, couldn't be bothered to leave, huff and puff. But we did come up with a good way to maximize your time at the casinos that we call the Maddie Method. What is that, Jesse?
Yeah, so the first thing is money. Bring cash. Don't be trying to go to the ATM. Sometimes the fees are ridiculous. I think, what was it at Le Burge when we went?
It was $10, and that adds up over time because your brother actually took cash out, I think, twice whenever he was down at blackjack.
Yeah, so it's a lot better just to bring cash ahead of time. so you have to worry about charging your room, or I know some cruise lines actually like they actually like charge a fee when you charge your room. So for A, just come with a good attitude. Like don't come in there with a bad attitude, like expecting to win a ton of money, but don't cut yourself short either. Another is the for D is don't gamble any money you can't afford to lose. Yeah, you definitely don't. If you're gambling your mortgage payment, that's definitely not good.
Besides those like fun YouTube clips that you see about guys betting $10,000, that's probably not recommended if $10,000 is not in your budget.
Yep, and for the next D is if you are playing blackjack, you always double down on 11. For I, it's going to be invest your winnings because sometimes the machine is hot.
You know, I have heard her say that.
Yeah.
When the machine's paying, you can't leave.
Yeah,
The machine's hot. It's hot.
I've definitely heard her say, she won a bonus, and then the very next thing she said, "Oh, the machine's hot," so she keeps wanting to play and usually lose the rest of her money.
To quote the dad from The Hangover, "If you're on a heater, you never walk away from a heater."
So for E is every spin could be a winner. You never know. There's been multiple times I've put like 50 cents in the machine, like one ticket, and just to like clear it, and I hit the bonus. I think I won like $20 one time off of 50 cents. That's not bad. But yeah, I wish she was here. Maybe next time she'll be here for the show.
For those keeping track at home, it's money, attitude, don't gamble any money you can't afford to lose, double down 11, invest your winnings because machine's hot, and every spin could be a winner. That is the Maddie method to maximizing your time at the casino. So now knowing this information, Jesse, what are some tips that you have for our audience when they do go to the casino? Like, are there certain games that you like to play? Are you more of a slots or a table person?
I used to, when I first started going to the casino, I was definitely more of a slot person because I really didn't know table games that much. I still don't really know too many table games, but I mean, at first my favorite game was probably Huff and Puff. I don't know. What do you think? Is that you like that?
I don't particularly care for Huff and Puff just because I personally never had that good of experience. My favorite have always been Dragon Link and, of course, Buffalo. That never gets old. But Buffalo has paid me pretty handsomely, and I like some of the smaller minimums that you can, because Dragon Link, the minimum you can bet is 50 cents, and I've won $100 on a 50-cent bet. So obviously the more money you spend, the more higher chances you have of actually getting a lot more money. Because I have a friend that I go to Vegas with who he's won over $1,000 betting $5.
Yeah, I know. Me and you were kind of go back and forth on it. I know I usually hit like the $2 bets, and I know you normally do the 50-cent bets. The reason me personally, I like the bigger bets is because a lot of times when you win the 50 cents, it's like $30 you've won or something. It's nothing crazy, and to me, it doesn't seem appealing, I guess, enough.
It's worth it if you want to spend a lot of time at the casino or make your money go. Because, I've put a 20 in a, Dragon Link machine, and I've, made it last like an hour or two. And, of course, there are other games that you can play to kind of maximize your fun. I don't know if this is on most cruise ships, but one of my new favorite games to play is Bubble Craps, where it's not as fun as actually going to the real craps table and meeting new friends. Because, I'm not saying I'm speaking from experience on the Carnival Glory or anything, but, Bubble Craps is a fun way to play craps, and you can like just put the coins all across the table, and it's fun when you keep winning, but as soon as that 7 hits, you're out.
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a blackjack now. It's just fun, especially when you got a dealer that's fun and entertaining while you're playing. In a way, I really don't even care if I win, because if I just have fun hanging out, like when we went to La Berge last time, it was fun just hanging out with you, Maddie, and my two of my brothers.
Yeah, it was actually fun because they opened an entire table for us. We just saw some dealer standing next to it, and I just went up to, hey, you're about to open this table? And it's like, how many of y'all? We said 4, and they just opened the table for us. A fun dealer definitely makes or breaks it, and I know when we were on the Carnival Glory, we did have some fun dealers too, where they were encouraging us and wanting us to win. And that's one thing I'll say about Carnival, table game staff is they're very, very friendly. Even if they flip over, you know, they flip over a jack, a 3, and an 8, they'll still say, "Oh, sorry," as they take, $100 away.
Yeah. But one game which I think you know how to play that I wish I knew how to play because it always seems exciting is craps.
Yes, and that one you kind of have to teach yourself how to play or watch other people. It's one of the ones that I've had to study, and I've played sparingly in Vegas. I remember winning $40. Like, okay, I'm going to cash out, but you put your coins all throughout the table, and then when you actually get to be the dice roller, that is one of the most exhilarating things when you're at a casino, and you definitely do make some new friends at the craps table.
Yeah. How about roulette? Do you like roulette?
I'll play it, but it's not my favorite, just because I do think it's dumb luck. I think it is a lot of fun seeing people, spread their coins all over the table for that one, just for the dealer to spin it. I feel like with craps, there is a little bit more skill involved because, it depends on the dice roller. I mean, at the end of the day, these casino games are all kind of rigged to where the house wins or house has at least a better advantage of winning, regardless of, if it's table games or slots. To answer the question, roulette, I'm hit or miss. I'll play it for fun, but it's not my favorite.
I know in Vegas, you will get free drinks just by playing on the slots or playing at a table. It's not like that on the cruise ship, so you still have to pay for all your drinks. You don't get free drinks like that. And Vegas actually did, in a weird way, gave me some liquid courage when I was playing roulette. I definitely did a few $100 bets, and luckily I hit every single one of them.
I was going to say, I think you'll be having a whole different attitude. I think you would never go to the casino again if you lost hundreds of dollars when you were playing. What was it? It was a machine roulette. It was an actual person too, correct?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a person. It was a machine roulette. Usually, I don't like to talk to people, but for some reason, blackjack, I do.
I guess they're a little bit more friendly at the blackjack tables than they are at the roulette tables. But kind of on a cruise perspective, Jesse, what are the best ways to get comps, rewards, or any kind of free play when you're gambling on a cruise ship?
So typically, how it works on a cruise ship is whenever you put money in a machine, you also put your sell-in sign card or your room key into the slot machine too. That's how they track how much money you actually spend on the machine. It's all about, and how you get rewards is all about how much money you cycle through the machine. So just because you won $100 doesn't mean you got 100 points. It's about what you cycle through. So even if you put, if you put $100 bill in there and you won $25 here, you cycling that same money. As long as you cycling that same money through, you just keep getting points based on that. So if they start seeing you get a bunch of points, usually it starts at bare minimum 1,000 points, which is, depends on the cruise line. It could be $2,000 you spent or $500. Depends on the cruise line, of course. A lot of times you can actually go talk to the host and say, "Hey, I got this many points. Is there anything you can give me for free?" A lot of times they'll give you free specialty dining, or they'll give you some free credit or stuff like that. They usually do. Sometimes the benefit may not be apparent right away. Sometimes it's from whenever you get off the ship and you go to book another cruise, they'll send you some cruise offers, which will be drinks included in the casino. Sometimes there's drinks included throughout the ship. The selling in September when we're going on Jubilee, we actually got $500 onboard credit, which we just used that to pay for half our drink package, and we also got a discount on a cruise. So
yeah, and if memory serves, you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of money to start seeing some of these rewards. Because I remember when we went on the cruise ship, you definitely didn't spend, thousands and thousands of dollars, and yet you're already receiving these different offers.
Yeah, exactly. I usually set a budget. Usually, I ain't gonna lie, for me and my wife, it's normally less than $1,000. So we don't go a ton, but if we win, great. If we lose, great. Like I said, we never spend any money that we can't afford to lose. So it's kind of like fun money that we go on a cruise ship. We kind of expect to lose. So if we win, that's awesome. So I know the first time I was on Jubilee, I came up about $1,200 ahead, which was probably the best I've done in a casino.
those casino trips are kind of fun on land and sea because it's almost like you're essentially paying back your vacation.
Yeah. But one thing I did notice is that about casino, it's definitely more fun the more people you got there. It's just fun watching people, win, your friends win, or they hit the bonus.
Have you ever people watched and you see like people in the high limit rooms or I remember with this one guy, I think we were on the breeze at this point in time. He was doing $100 hands of blackjack, and of course he was doubling down and
I think that was
splitting hands.
glory.
That was the glory. You
Yeah.
are right. You're right.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to kind of watch some of those people like, man, I wish I could spend that kind of money.
And he was there every single night on the cruise ship. Like every single night we went there 2 or 3 nights, and he was there every single night. He did not look happy either. He looked like he definitely lost a lot of money.
I think the dealer pulled a few 21s on him, which I don't blame him for. That's probably the worst feeling in the world when you go to the casino. Another question I have for you is, how would you say gambling and the rewards compare on sea than it does on land?
Yeah, so honestly, land is definitely more about comping your room and stuff like that, which you still got to pay with the resort fee, which is very similar to a cruise. It's very similar. Me personally, I mean, I love being on the sea because to me, any day on the sea is better than being on land, me personally. I definitely think that the offers are better on the casino at sea just because, I don't know, I guess because it's smaller or they can offer more. I don't know. I don't know the exact reason why it's like that, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm more familiar with, rewards you get on land, so to say, because MGM Rewards member in Vegas, I'm definitely not a big time baller, but, I do get comped rooms with the exception of the resort fee. Most of my stays when I go to Excalibur or Luxor in Las Vegas, and, I'm working on the ones in Louisiana, but especially like MGM brand, which I can really speak on, they'll offer you more comps. Like even sometimes they've offered discounted, Golden Knights tickets or they, certain show tickets. Now they have an all-in offer, which that's to everybody, but also can be discounted for certain MGM Rewards members. So it's definitely good to look and see which kind of comps that you could get when you're on land versus at sea, especially if you live close to a casino. I know, we have people that listen in California. They probably can go to Vegas a little easier than we can now, especially without Spirit Airlines. So for us, our main destination that we go to is Louisiana, which they have Caesars. And then, of course, LaBerge and Golden Nugget. Those are the 3 big casinos we go to. But, also planning a whole trip to Vegas is now essentially the same cost as going on a cruise ship. So wouldn't you rather just go on a cruise ship instead, Jesse?
Yeah, especially when you got your food included, you don't have to worry about driving anywhere. Your hotel rooms with steps away. So whenever you get hungry in the middle of the night, you just go down to Pirate's Pizza and just pick up some pizza slices.
I was gonna say, yeah, those 24-hour places in Vegas are going away real quickly, and it's so hard to go to Vegas now and not go anywhere that doesn't have like $25 cheeseburgers.
Yeah, I think one time I went to a gas station and the water was like $8 or something. Remember? I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, and I'm sure that water is now $15 with inflation. So Vegas has become incredibly expensive, and they are trying to bring people back in, but you've lost a lot of people's business, including mine, when you just start charging an arm and a leg for everything else when you don't necessarily have to. I mean, we went to Fat Burger and, it was only, I think we did the math, it was only $5 more to go to the buffet. At that point, I would have just had the buffet because I wouldn't have had a bad burger.
Yeah. And yeah, they definitely went away with the, cheap all-you-can-eat buffets, they were popular at the time, but they're still there. They're ridiculously expensive, too.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not paying like almost $50 to go to an Excalibur buffet. I mean, at that point, I'd rather have the $25 cheeseburger. But, where they don't have $25 cheeseburgers and they still have all good buffets is cruise ships.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially Carnival and Guy's Burger. You definitely got to like that.
I mean, that is a great combo right there.
But getting back on topic on the casinos and all that, table games work a little bit differently with rewards than slots do. Typically, you have to give your card over to the host, and and he kind of puts your information in, and he does it based on more like time that you're spent at the table. So it's kind of hard to track how much money you spend because they're not calculating how much you're betting. It's more just like if you've been there 3 hours, I guarantee you they've taken a lot of your money. I guess statistically. And of course, we're really big donors to the casino out there.
I would say that the best way to actually earn rewards is through slot machines because that tracks every single bet that you make. And if you're up in your bets, it'll increase your points. Whereas if you're at a table game, yeah, like you said, it's very hard to track the amount of money you spend because you're using physical chips. Now, if you can play blackjack, roulette, craps in a machine and it does the same thing, but I consider that more a, quote, slot machine than I do an actual table game. Now, I know you said that you like table games a little bit more than slot machines, but do you have certain slot machines that you do like to play, Jesse?
Yeah, honestly, they are definitely the big ones. I definitely like, Dragon Link. I definitely like Buffalo, too. I probably won more money on Buffalo than anything. I did hit really good on Huff and Puff, even though that's definitely a love and hate relationship. I know Maddie would agree with me, too, on that, because sometimes you put $200-$300 in there and not get nothing, and then sometimes you put $20 and get 2 bonuses within that time period. So it's definitely a love and hate and then sometimes the bonuses are so small it wasn't even worth the bonus, honestly.
Don't you hate whenever you're doing a smaller bet and they still have all the lights and the flashing and the animation just so that way you won a $10 bonus?
Yeah, I still remember one time one of our friends, they won like less than $1 on a bonus.
Yeah, that was me, Jesse.
Yeah. Oh, that was you. Huh?
It was called Stinkin' Rich, and I think it was over in Louisiana. I literally got a 50-cent bonus, and I immediately cashed out and said, I'm never playing this game again. And so for all you out there listening, do not play Stinkin' Rich or even gamble in Louisiana. And that'll do it for this week's episode of the Lido Loop. As always, you can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. We do have a Facebook page. We are the Lido Loop, where we do post semi-weekly there. And then, of course, we do have the YouTube channel, which is the Lido Loop. And as always, I'm Jack, that's Jesse, and we will see you
on the Lido deck
or at the casino playing some Buffalo.
Thank you for watching this episode of Lido Loop. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're notified every time we post more content.